You from the varsity field at the senior high school in St. Louis Park. Not their normal playing grounds, but I believe Dakota Field is being resodded. That's why they're playing the first couple of games of this season at the senior high school. The two groups of coaches for this evening's game. Let's see if we can run down the starting lineups for the St. Louis Park Orioles. Starting in left field will be Chris Kirby. The center fielder for today's game will be Eric Bonstrom. Chad Zempel will play right. The third baseman for the Orioles will be Gene Mans. Chad Rose will be the shortstop, and Kevin Gray will play second base. Dan Holly will be the first baseman this afternoon for the Orioles. And Chad Osted, the ace of the Orioles staff, will be on the mound. His battery mate, Matt Paulson. The batting order for the Edina Hornets, leading off and playing second base, will be Harold Stoneking. Matt Dowleen will bat second and play first base. Brock Meisler will be the shortstop and bat number 3. The cleanup hitter will be the catcher, Rob Frisbee. And Andy Fronick will bat fifth and play center field. Steve Nelson will bat in the number 6 spot and play right field. The 7, 8, 9 hitters will be the left fielder, Kevin Gabrick. Eric Hutchins will be the DH. And Jason Upsaw will play third base and bat in the 9th position. St. Louis Park comes into this evening's game at 4-0. They started out hot again, as they did last year. The Hornets come in with a 2-1 mark with their only blemish on their record, a loss to Minnetonka earlier on in the season. First meeting between these two teams just about to get underway. Chad Osted, the left-hander, is about to start things off here at St. Louis Park Senior High School. I'm Todd Ratcliffe. You're watching NC 34 Sports Oriole Baseball. The home plate umpire brushing off the plate as Harold Stoneking, the second baseman, he'll wear number 11 as he is about to get ready to start things off here. A nice day outside. Sunny. Should have a lot of fans coming out and stopping by and watching this exciting Oriole baseball team. This should be a good game. Both pitchers have a very good reputation in the Lake Conference, and I'm guessing you're not going to see a whole lot of scoring. Maybe a 1-0, 2-1 game that'll win this one. And we just get set here. First pitch to Harold Stoneking is a swinging strike. Second pitch there is low, 1-1 to Stoneking. Osted delivers. That swung on to the shortstop. Chad Rose makes the long throw and records Stoneking out for the first out of the game. And if you're scoring at home along with us, Stoneking grounds out 4-3 for the first out of the inning. Correct me, that's 6-3. The shortstop being the 6th man on the playing field. That'll bring up Matt Dowleen, the first baseman. He wears number 5. He'll bat from the right side of the plate this time. Osted wheels and delivers. Fouled straight back. That's out of play. That'll make a lucky fan happy for a while, then he'll have to throw it back into play. Osted works quickly. Dolly taking his time. The 0-1 pitch from Osted, grounded to the second baseman. That's Gray. He throws it over to Dan Holly. There's 2 out here in the Edina half of the first inning. Well, 2 outs. Brock Meisler will come up to the plate, the shortstop. Wears number 21. Edina in there visiting Gray. Meisler, a left-handed hitter. First pitch to Brock is a ball. 1 ball, no strikes to Meisler. Meisler swings away and lifts this one into shallow left field, or left center field. That falls in for a base hit. Meisler gets the first hit off Chad Ostead here in the first inning. So with 2 outs, Edina has a runner on base and Brock Miser brings up the cleanup hitter Rob Frisbee, the catcher. And on deck is Andy Fronek, the center fielder. Miser takes his lead, has some speed, so they'll have to check him closely. Ostead delivers to home. The fly ball to right field, that may drop. But making the catch is Chad Zampel, and that ends the inning for the Edina Hornets. Ostead looked impressive in his first inning here against Edina, and that's what Dan McEachern wanted. He wanted his young left-hander to get off to a fast start. The Hornets go down with only a base hit on, no runs on just one base hit. There are no errors in the inning, and 1 man was left on base, and that'll bring up the St. Louis Park Orioles. Let's set up the Edina Hornet defense as you look at some of the bench players for the Edina Hornets. In left field will be Kevin Gabrick. The center fielder is Andy Fronek, and the right fielder this afternoon is Steve Nelson. The infield for the Hornets, playing third base, was Jason Upsall. Brock Miser, as mentioned, is the shortstop. Harold Stone King will play second base, and Matt Darlene is the first baseman. The pitcher for the Edina Hornets this afternoon is John Nez, and his battery mate, Rob Frisbee. Look at Nez, the big right-hander for the Edina Hornets. St. Louis Park will send up to the plate to battle Nez. The first batter, the leadoff batter, the shortstop, Chad Rose. Following Rose is Chris Kirby, the left fielder. Matt Paulson will bat third and do the catching. Eric Bonstrom, the center fielder, will be the cleanup batter. Batting fifth for the Orioles, Dan Hawley. Following Hawley, the second baseman is Kevin Gray. And the 7, 8, 9 hitters for the Orioles, Gene Mans will play third base, Chad Zempel in right, followed by Chad Ostead. There's a look at Chad Rose. The shortstop did not play on the varsity team last year, I believe. Coming up and making a strong appearance for the Orioles. He'll bat left-handed against the right-handed throwing John Nez. If the old righty-lefty theory proves right, this should favor Rose here in the early on. Nez finishing up his warm-up tosses. This is the second game that NC34 Sports has covered for the St. Louis Park Orioles. If you remember, we were at the Hopkins game where St. Louis Park won, I believe, 8-6 in a very cold afternoon here at St. Louis Park Senior High School. We were scheduled to cover last Friday's girls softball game, but that was snowed out. So we were unable to cover the game because there was no game to cover. Look at the Edina bench. I believe we're getting ready to start things off here.
Hey, Big John, bring him now.
In the Oriole half of the first, there's no score. Chad Ostead sat down everybody except for Brock Miser, who reached on a base hit. First pitch to Rose is a swinging strike. No balls, 1 strike to the senior shortstop. Rose digs in. Nez works quickly. Ball is hit to the first baseman, Matt Darlene. He'll take it himself, record the out, unassisted to the first baseman. John Nez has a variety of pitches. He'll throw the heater, and he has a curveball and a changeup, and he's experimenting with a forkball. And Jim Luther, the coach for the Hornets, said he'll throw them, but not all with accuracy as often as he would like. Come back right to Nez, and that'll sit down Chris Kirby. So quickly, Nez has 3 pitches and 2 outs recorded. That'll bring up the number 3 batter, Matt Paulson. the Oriole catcher. Paulson had a home run in the win over Hopkins. Has the Mickey Tettleton kind of style at the plate. Doesn't take a warm-up swing. The pitch to Paulson. Bit outside, ball one. See if you can get a look at Paulson's stance. The 1-0 pitch, swing and a miss. Strike one. Counts even at 1-1. Two gone here in the Oriole half of the first. Edina did not score in their half of the first. Chad Osted worked a masterful first inning. That's low, ball two. 2 balls, 1 strike to Matt Paulson. Nez delivers the 2-1 pitch. Low, ball 3. Rattles off the backstop. Matt Paulson, the batter for the St. Louis Park Orioles. The 3-1 pitch from Nez is swung on to the third baseman. Upsaw throws it over to the first baseman, Matt Dowling, and that retires the side after 1 inning of play at St. Louis Park Senior High School. It's tied at 0 between the Hornets and the Orioles.
Think you've been around long enough to know a little something about rock and roll trivia?
Dial 1-900-226-0660.
For the $1 Million Trivia Classics Rock and Roll Trivia game. Answer questions using your touch tone.
A peek at the Aspine Oriole baseball team early on. First inning, there's no score. Facing Chad Osted in the second inning for Edina will be the center fielder, Andy Froelich, Steve Nelson, the right fielder, and Kevin Gabrick, the left fielder. So the outfield getting a shot at Chad Osted. Osted, not a very big man, but has good control in his pitches and can throw the off-speed pitch for a strike. Andy Froelich getting set to dig in against Osted. Top of the second, Osted delivers. That's swung on to the shortstop, Rose. Rose picks up and throws to Dan Hawley, and Steve Nelson is, or Andy Froelich rather, is out to start off the second inning. That brings up Steve Nelson, the right fielder. Nelson wears number 12. Osted gets his sign from Paulson and delivers. Called strike one. The 0-1 pitch to Nelson, low, ball 2. Or ball 1 rather. Evens the count, 1-1. 1 out here in the second inning. Swing and a miss by Nelson. 1 ball, 2 strikes to the right fielder. Osted works quickly. Doesn't waste any time. That's high, ball 2, 2-2. To Nelson. The 2-2 pitch to Nelson is fouled down the left field line. Gene Manns takes a trot over and retrieves the ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That is swung on to Rose. Rose fields it and throws to Dan Hawley. So far it's been all Chad Rose and Dan Hawley this inning. 2 outs for the Hornets. Kevin Gabrick, the left fielder, steps up to bat and see if they can get to Chad Osted. Look at the shortstop, Chad Rose. Like I said earlier, I don't believe he played varsity ball last year, but a good athlete. First pitch to Kevin Gabrick is a ball. Osted delivers the 1-0. That's swung on and fouled straight back, crashing against the fence. Evens the count at 1. 1 ball, 1 strike the count to Kevin Gabrick. The 1-1 pitch from Osted. Called. Strike 2, 1-2. That's something you'll see from Osted. He doesn't fall behind too many batters and has not done that yet this inning. That's fouled back into the track and field area. This is a neat place to have baseball games because it's located on the campus of the high school and there's activity always going on. Easy to draw fans. That's a ball, 2-2. To the batter, Kevin Gabrick. Speed pitch is high, ball 3, full count, first full count that Osted has had here in the game. Just 2 innings old, or actually an inning and 2/3 old. No score. That swung on not too deep. Gene Mann squeezes it and ends the inning for the Orioles. Well, after an inning and a half of play here at St. Louis Park Senior High School, it's the Orioles nothing and the Hornets nothing. And the Orioles coming up to bat in their half of the second inning. So Chad Osted with a 1-hitter working. And John Nez with a no-hitter working, starting his half of the second inning. Battling Nez in the second for the Orioles will be Eric Bonstrom, Dan Hawley, and Kevin Gray. Meat of the order for the St. Louis Park Orioles coming up, the 4, 5, and 6 batters. Beautiful day here, as mentioned earlier. It's a nice way to play softball because you'll get people wandering in and out of the senior high school, either going home or coming to an activity, and they'll sit in and watch an inning or two instead of a playing, catching some baseball action here. And it's a sunny day, clear skies, no threat of rain. You're watching NC34 Sports. And I'm Todd Radcliffe, glad to be with you this afternoon. See some of the partisan, I believe those are the Edina fans on the Edina side of the field. John Nez just finishing up his warm-up tosses, and the ball's going to be fired around the horn. So Eric Bonstrom will see if he can crack John Nez, who has a perfect game working here. Finished off the first 3 batters in quick fashion. I believe he only threw 4 or 5 pitches in the first inning. Bonstrom, the center fielder, digs in against Nez. That's fouled straight back. That'll find the seats. No balls, 1 strike to Bonstrom. The 0-1 pitch to Bonstrom. A bit low. Ball 1. 1-1 to Bonstrom. Nez kicks and throws. That's fouled back. 1-2. So Nez getting ahead of the batters through an inning. An inning plus. The 1-2 pitch to Bonstrom. Kind of leans forward and throws out the bat. Gets a hold of it. Knocks it to Nez, and Nez throws over to Matt Darlene for the first out. So far, the Orioles have yet to put the ball in play out of the infield, and there's no score here in the second inning. Dan Hawley, the first baseman, the senior first baseman, steps up against Nez. Called strike one to the senior. The 0-1 pitch to Hawley, just a bit outside, ball one, 1-1 the count to Dan Hawley. Nez, like Ostead, a fast worker. He kicks and turns, breaking ball, low ball two. And you'll see that the defensive players will play better behind a fast worker rather than having to labor out in the field for 10, 15 minutes at a time during an inning. Easier to keep your mind into the game, always looking for the pitch. 3 balls and a strike now to Dan Hawley. Naz working on a perfect game through an inning and a third. The pitch loses Hawley to a walk. Hawley takes the trot down as the ball got past Rob Frisbee, but he'll hold on at first base. So base on balls to Dan Hawley, and he's the first Oriole base runner. Brings up Kevin Gray, the second baseman. John Nez says he wants a new ball to the home plate umpire. 0-0 the score, inning and a third into it. Edina did not score in their half of the second inning. And St. Louis Park threatening with a 1-out walk here to Dan Hawley. Hawley's at first base. Has some speed. The pitch. Low, ball one. Kevin Gray, the batter. Gray digs in. Nez checks Hawley at first base. The pitch swung on straight back and just missed by Gray. Wishes he had that one back. The infield for the Hornets, Jason Upsall at third, Brock Miser at short, Harold Stone King at second base, and Matt Darlene playing first base. Nez looks in and gets his sign from Frisbee. Checks the runner and throws. Swing and a miss by Kevin Gray. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Nez needs either a strikeout here or a double play ball to get out of the inning. That's low, ball 2. 2-2 the count to Kevin Gray. Nez looks and throws. Struck him out on a breaking ball. So Nez gets his first K of the game. That brings up Gene Mans, the third baseman. Orioles have their first runner of the game. That's Dan Hawley at first base. Reached on a base on balls. Gene Mans hits a number off the home plate. Looked like it, or sounded like it hit the either the catcher's shin or the shin of Mans, but he reaches first on an infield hit. We'll give him a base hit on the play. Nez not able to make the throw to first. So with 2 outs here in the second inning, the Tigers have the go-ahead run at second base. No score in the game. Dan Hawley at second. He reached earlier in the inning on a base on balls, then advanced on Mann's infield hit. 2 out in the inning. Chad Zempel, the right fielder, steps up to the plate. This is in foul territory. Gabriel can't catch up with it, and the runners have to go back to their bases. This could be a very important run if Chad Zempel can knock in Hawley from second base. 1 or 2 runs may win this one. Both teams throwing tough pitchers at each other, and it may be a 1-run or a 2-run game. Home plate umpire calls time as the plane flies overhead. Zempel, the right fielder, digs in. Nez bluffed to throw to second base, chases back Dan Hawley. That's driven sharply foul down the right field line, and the runners have to retreat to their bases once again. Chad Zempel, the batter for the Orioles. Runners on base. Dan Hawley at second and Gene Mans at first. Hawley reached on a 1-out base on balls, and then Gene Mans reached with a 2-out infield single. Nez looks in to Zempel. He throws, and that hit him. And after pitching well for an inning and a third, John Nez has found himself into trouble here early on in the second. So hits batsman, loads him up for the pitcher, Chad Osted. He can help himself out here. He needs a base hit. Osted digs in, 2 outs in the second inning. Bases are loaded. Frisbee pats his glove and gives John Nez some encouragement. They need to get the batter out. Zempel with a large lead at second. At first base, it gets thrown out. Getting a little too greedy out there is Zempel, and that ends the inning. Just what the Hornets wanted. Zempel gets picked off of first base at the end of 2 innings of play at St. Louis Park. Gets the Orioles nothing and the Hornets nothing.
These machines are no fun. I already know all the answers. You got any tougher questions?
When you're ready to get serious about sports trivia, dial 1-900-226-0660 for the $1 million sports trivia game. Use your knowledge about sports trivia to answer 6 questions.
Yeah, against a computer.
Wrong. You compete against 9 other people per round. And if you win 3 rounds, you win $1,000. You win 5 rounds, you win $10,000. And if you win 7 rounds, you win $1 million.
$1 million?
One might get...
Let's go for today's boys baseball game, top of the third inning. There's no score. Batters for the Edina Hornets this inning will be Eric Hutchins, Jason Upsaw, and the leadoff batter, Harold Stone King. Hutchins, the DH, batting for the pitcher. No balls and a strike to Hutchins. Time is called. Hutchins showing Austin, I want it right here. The 0-1 pitch is high ball. There's the score. Top of the third inning at St. Louis Park Senior High School. The Hornets zip and the Orioles zip. The 1-1 pitch is grounded to the shortstop, and he throws it over to Dan Hawley for the out. Chad Rose showing his senior leadership at the shortstop position. It's his third assist in the game. That brings up Jason Upsaw, the third baseman. Good look at Chad Rose. 1 out in the third. Orioles had the best chance of getting the lead in the second inning, but Zempel was picked off of first. Upsaw, the batter. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jason Upsaw. The only blemish on the pitching for today for Chad Osted is Brock Miser's base hit in the first inning. There's a hit, a nice stop by Gene Mans, the Oriole third baseman. Did get a chance to see it on camera, but he made a sterling defensive play. There's a shot of Gene. That brings up the leadoff hitter, Harold Stone King. Swing and a miss by Stone King. Matt Dowling on deck for the Hornets. Another swing and a miss by Stone King. No balls, 2 strikes to the Hornets' second baseman. Edina in their visiting gray uniforms. The Orioles in their home white. The 0-2 pitch to Stone King. Swing and a miss, struck him out. That's Osted's first K of the game. And quickly retires the Edina Hornets through 2.5 innings of play at St. Louis Park Senior High School. There's no score. Look at the left fielder and Brock Miser. The green grass of St. Louis Park Senior High School. The Tigers, or the Orioles, will send up to the plate Chad Osted, the pitcher. He was on at the plate when Zempel got picked off of first, so he'll bat again in the third inning. Following Osted will be Chad Rose and Chris Kirby, the left fielder. Now's getting his warm-up tosses in. There's a home plate umpire. You're watching Oriole Baseball on NC 34 Sports. I'm Todd Ratcliffe. A bright sunny day here at St. Louis Park Senior High School. See some of the SLP faithful looking on. No score. Bottom of the third inning. Orioles coming up to bat. The pitcher, Chad Osted. Throws left, bats right. Pitcher against pitcher here. Osted digs in the first pitch. Pop up to the second baseman, Harold Stone King. He retires Osted on a lazy fly ball to second base. Chad Rose, the senior shortstop, batting left-handed today, will be the second batter up for the Orioles. On deck is Chris Kirby, and in the hole is Matt Paulson. One out in the third. Ball one to Rose. The 1-0 pitch from Nez, swung on and missed by Chad Rose. 1-1 the count to the senior shortstop. The pitch from Nez, called strike 1 and 2. And after a shaky second, John Nez comes out firing here in the third. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Chad Rose. 1 out, the bottom of the third. Rose thought he was going to get rung up on that pitch, but just a bit outside. 2 and 2 the count now to Chad Rose. Rose grounded out to the pitcher, or to the first baseman rather, in the first inning for the first out of the game. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count. 1 out here in the third. Nez kicks and throws. It's a ball lifted or driven to the second baseman, Harold Stone King, and Stone King has his second putout of the inning. It brings up Chris Kirby, the left fielder. Kirby grounded out to the pitcher, John Nez, in the first. Nez sat down the Orioles in order in the first inning, then had a little trouble in the second with a hits batsman. Breaking ball outside, ball 1. The 1-0 pitch fouled straight back, evening the count at 1-1. One ball, 1 strike, the count to Kirby. Called strike 2. Kirby didn't like that. Steps out of the box. Now he's ready. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Chris Kirby, the Oriole left fielder. That pitch is low and gets past Frisbee. Evens the count at 2-2. That's a waste pitch there by Nez. Could waste a ball there, try to get Kirby to chase at it. 2 balls, 2 strike. Deuces running wild on the screen. The 2-2 pitch. Low, ball 3. We're tied here in the third inning. The 3-2 pitch struck him out. Kirby thought he had a base on balls. Umpire said, no, you're going to have to sit down for a little bit. Kirby showing where the ball crossed the plate. After 3 innings of play here, it's the Orioles nothing and the Hornets nothing on NC 34 Sports.
Let's face it, every woman needs a little help running her life. That's why I subscribe to Family Circle. How's this for a little help? In 1 year, Family Circle gave me 554 time-saving recipes and food articles, 432 fashion ideas, 439 decorating tips, 221 articles on health and fitness, 324 beauty and hair makeovers. I guess you get the point. 1 year of Family Circle gives you tons of real choices to help you handle almost any part of your life, from food to family to your most intimate concerns. Make sure Family Circle is there for you whenever you need help.
Now's the time to subscribe to Family Circle. A year's subscription only $15.97. That's 17 idea-packed issues of Family Circle for less than $1 an issue. To take advantage of this offer, call now toll-free. 800-232-2700. That's 800-232-2700 for Family Circle.
Welcome back to St. Louis Park Senior High School. Today's game between the St. Louis Park Orioles and the Edina Hornets. We're in the top of the 4th inning. There's no score. You're watching NC 34 Sports. I'm Todd Radcliffe. Due up this inning for the Edina Hornets, number 5, Matt Darlene, Brock Miser, and Rob Frisbee. Osted works against Darlene. That's driven into the air. Darlene didn't like it. The right fielder, Chad Zempel, squeezes it and records the first out of the inning. Brock Miser with the only base hit on the evening for the Edina Hornets steps up to the plate against Chad Austin. The pitch from Austin, swing and a miss by Miser. No balls and a strike to Miser. 1 out here in the 4th. Rob Frisbee on deck. That's low, ball 1. Beautiful day for baseball here in St. Louis Park. The 1-1 pitch fouled straight back. Got a piece of Paulson. He's okay. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count. No score through 3 innings of play. 3 1/3 innings, actually. As I said in the pregame, this could be a game where a score of 1-0 or 2-1 or 3-2 will win it. So every bat is a key at bat. The pitch to Miser is lifted into shallow center field. Coming on and making an attempt is Chad Rose. He and Bonstrom collide, and Rose is shaken up. Miser reaches with the second base hit of the game. There's Miser at first, and I believe they're going to attend to Chad Rose. While there's an injury on the field, we're going to take a break and be back with more St. Louis Park Oriole basketball, or baseball rather, right after this. Senior high school. Rose is okay. Miser at first. Top of the 4th inning. 0-0 the score. Rob Frisbee, the Oriole catcher, or the Edina Hornet catcher, the batter. Brock Miser's on first base. Has some speed. May be a threat to go. There's a called strike. No balls and a strike to Frisbee. Frisbee the batter, Brock Miser on base, his second hit of the game. And the pitch to second for 1, and they can't get the double play off. Miser's retired on the fielder's choice. And reaching first base is Rob Frisbee. So Frisbee doesn't do the job at the plate. Let's see if he can make up for it on the base paths. Up next, Andy Froelich with 2 outs here in the 4th. Hosted delivers. That's a short fly ball into shallow right field. Coming out to make the grab is the second baseman, Kevin Gray, and that'll retire the Orioles here in the fourth inning. So after a one-out hit by Brock Miser, the Edina Hornets cannot convert. They go down with no runs on a base hit and an error, and there's one person left on base. At the end of 3.5 innings of play, it's the Orioles zip and the Hornets zip on NC34 Sports. Look at the young right-hander for the Edina Hornets, John Nez, as he gets his warm-up tosses here in the fourth inning of play. Had some trouble in the second inning, so let's see if the old odd even comes into play here. Had two good innings, the first and the third. Ran into a little bit of trouble in the second inning. This is the fourth inning. Let's see if he can get through this one okay. Facing Nez here in the fourth inning for the Orioles, the catcher Matt Paulson, Eric Bonstrom, and Dan Hawley. And they started the trouble for Nez in the second inning. Nez finishes his warm-up tosses in the fourth and get ready to go battle Matt Paulson. No score here in the bottom of the fourth. The Orioles really, with the only scoring threat in the second inning, had bases loaded and Zempel got picked off of first. The pitch from Nez, breaking ball over for a strike. No balls and a strike to Matt Paulson. Paulson grounded out to the third baseman in the first. Mickey Tettleton-like batting stance. That's into right field. Giving chase is the right fielder. A fine diving catch by Steve Nelson. Nelson making a fine diving catch to retire Matt Paulson. And that could have been one of the key plays in the game, and may have picked up this Edina Hornet team, kind of playing lackluster here through 3 innings. Brings up Eric Bonstrom, the center fielder. He wears number 20. First pitch to Bonstrom was a ball. The 1-0 pitch from Nez. That's a ball. 2 balls, no strikes to Bonstrom. Fouled back. The catcher loses it for a second frisbee, and that's out of play into the track area. And there's a race for the ball. Now, if I were that person, I would just take the ball and run as fast as I can. 2 balls and a strike to Bonstrom here in the fourth. 1 out on the diving catch by Steve Nelson. 2-1 pitch. Lined into left field for a single. So Bonstrom reaches on a single in the fourth inning. That'll bring up Dan Hawley, the Oriole first baseman. Bonstrom on first base with 1 out here. Orioles have a little rally going. See if Dan Hawley can add. Reached on base in the second inning on a base on balls. Was stranded at third base when Chad Zempel got picked off of first. The runner goes, Bonstrom goes. His throw is in time. To retire Eric Bonstrom. So now there's 2 outs here in the inning, and Dan Hawley is up to bat. Coach Dan McEachran trying to get something started here. Trying to get the go-ahead run to second base so he can score on a possible outfield hit. Dan Hawley. That's low for a ball. 1-1 the count to Hawley. Hawley grounds the ball to the third baseman, Jason Upsall, and he records Dan Hawley. Oh, the Orioles threaten here in the 4th with a base hit. Runners thrown out at second, trying to steal at the end of 4 innings of play. It's the Orioles zip and the Hornets zip. Baseball game between the Hornets and the Orioles. There's a grounder to Gene Mans, and he retires the Eagle runner, and that'll end the inning here. For the Hornets, and we missed some batters there for the Hornets, and due to some technical difficulties, and we'll see if we can get those runners or the batters to you. I believe the inning went in order, so that would have been Eric Hutchins grounding out to Mans. That brings up the St. Louis Park Orioles in their half of the 5th inning. St. Louis Park will send to the plate Kevin Gray, Gene Mans, and Chad Zempel. Kind of an interesting note. 1/3 of the St. Louis Park's team has a first name of Chad. So if you hear "Come on, Chad" in the background here, doesn't necessarily mean that he's a fan favorite. There's 3 of them. Yeah, they're finishing off the warm-up tosses for John Nez. Kevin Gray, the second baseman, steps up to the plate for the St. Louis Park Orioles. No score here, top of the 5th inning, or bottom of the 5th, rather. You're watching Oriole baseball on NC34 Sports. Nez's first pitch is swung on and missed. Kevin Gray, the second baseman for the Orioles, struck out in the 2nd inning. His 2nd time up to bat. Swing and a miss by Gray. And he is in a hole here against Nez. Nez working on a 2-hitter through 4 innings. Breaking ball to Kevin Gray is outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. To the Orioles second baseman. The pitch high, that's a ball. 2-2 the count to Kevin Gray. Nobody on, nobody out here in the bottom of the 5th inning here at St. Louis Park Senior High School. The pitch from Gray, that's low, ball 3. Full count now to Gray after falling behind 0-2. Works his way to a full count. The 3-2 pitch from Nez. Low. Ball 4. Gray works a impressive base on balls to John Nez to lead off the 5th inning here for the Orioles. Gene Mans steps up to the plate now. Nez looks back. Kevin Gray. Mans had a single in the explosive 2nd inning for the Orioles. Was stranded at second when Zempel got picked off at first. Zempel on deck. Throw over. Gets away from the first baseman, Matt Darlene. But not far enough away where Kevin Gray could advance. No balls, no strikes to Mans. Nobody out here in the Oriole half of the 5th inning. And they have their leadoff runner on. That's fouled straight back. May have a play. That reaches the stands. No balls and a strike to the Oriole third baseman. Man's a little unsure of the signs. He'll go over to Dan McEachran, get things all settled in so everybody's on the same wavelength. No balls and a strike to Gene Mans. The 0-1 pitch from Nez is driven in to center field. Orioles have their first 2 batters on here in the 5th. Nez is 2 for 2. In the game, a single in the 2nd and a single here in the 5th, and that'll bring up Chad Zempel, who reached in the 2nd base after being hit by a John Nez pitch. Then was picked off of first base to end the rally in the 2nd. Left-handed hitting right fielder. Up next, the pitcher, Chad Austin. The pitch to Mans is hit into right field and deep enough where the runner at second tags Kevin Gray, and he's on third base. Gene Mans stays home at first. A long fly out for Chad Zempel. Moves over the runners. That's the first out of the inning. And Chad Osted, the pitcher, steps up to the plate. Chad could help himself out here with the base hit, or to get on base at the top of the order. Chad Rose, Chris Kirby, and Matt Paulson do up next for the Orioles. Orioles have the leading run at third base, and Gene Mans at first. One out here in the Oriole half the 5th. First pitch to Ostad is outside, ball 1. No balls and a strike to Ostad. Ostad flew out to the second baseman in the 3rd inning in his only time at bat. That's low, no ball. 2 balls and no strikes to Chad Ostad. Nez trying to make see if he can get a double play ball to get out of the inning, trying to save himself here after giving up 2 no-out singles. Getting back to first base, Gene Mans. Looked like he got him from our vantage point. Field umpire said no can do. Mans is safe at first. Kevin Gray, the go-ahead run 90 feet away at third base. Chad Oster, the batter, trying to help himself out here in the Oriole half of the fifth. Throw over. Checking back the runners is Nez. 2 balls, no strikes, 1 out here in the 5th inning. You're watching Oriole Baseball on NC34 Sports. I'm Todd Radcliffe.
Going.
The pitch swung on, and that is not very deep, and that finds the stands. Right behind the St. Louis Park dugout.
You're gonna rip, Chad.
Well, about 3 feet outside the fence. No play for the third baseman, Jason Opsahl. 2-1 the count now to Ostad. Nez trying to work out of a jam here in the 5th. Runners at 3rd and 1st for the Orioles. Kevin Gray reached on a base on balls, and Gene Mans had a base hit to left field. On a fly ball to Chad Zempo, Gray took third base, and that's where we stand now. 2-1 the count to Ostad. Umpire calls time as the plane flies by overhead. The 2-1 pitch tossed at high, ball 3. 3 balls, 1 strike to the Oriole pitcher. Nez working on a 3-hitter in a jam in the 5th. Loses Ostad to a base on balls. That loads him up for Chad Zempo. Double play ball gets the Hornets out of an inning. Base hit, possibly scores 2. Gene Mans at second, Gray at third, and the pitcher, Chad Ostad, at first base. This brings up Chad Rose, the leadoff batter for the Orioles. That'll bring Jim Luther out of the dugout, talk things over with his infield, maybe having a play on. They got out of a jam with the bases loaded with a pickoff move in the 2nd. See if the Hornet skipper has anything up his sleeves here in the 5th. 5th inning to play. We're scoreless here at St. Louis Park Senior High School. The Hornets zip and the Orioles zip on a beautiful sunny Wednesday afternoon at St. Louis Park Senior High School. Jim Luther seems to be satisfied with his defense. And John Nez is set to battle Chad Rose here in the 5th. Bases loaded, 1 out. Orioles with a big threat coming on here in the 5th inning. The game's tied at 0. The pitch fouled straight back and out of play. Nez fires one in there. That's a strike. No balls. 2 strikes to Chad Rose. Nez needs a strikeout here or an infield putout so he can work against Chris Kirby. Ball is grounded in the infield to the catcher. Rod Frisbee steps on home plate for the retiring Kevin Gray. A ground ball to the third baseman, John Upsall, and he fires it quickly to the catcher, Rod Frisbee, and records the first out.
The base wrap, Chris. Come on, guy.
That brings up Chris Kirby. Bases still loaded. Rose at first, Osted at second, and Gene Mans at third. The pitch to Kirby, called, strike one. No balls and a strike to Kirby. Kirby struck out in the third and grounded out to the pitcher in the second. He's 0 for 2. The pitch to Kirby, swung on and missed, strike two. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the Oriole half of the 5th inning. They're threatening. Bases are loaded. Had them loaded with 1 out. And a force out at home plate for the second out. That's low ball. Good job by Frisbee to keep the baseball in front of him. No runs will score. Runners do not advance. A ball and 2 strikes to the batter, Chris Kirby, the left fielder. The 1-2 offering from Nez. That's a fly ball to left field. A great catch by Kevin Gabrick. Say hey, Willie Mays style catch for Kevin Gabrick. Saves a bunch of runs from crossing the plate here in the 5th inning. Kirby flies out to deep left field where Kevin Gabrick makes a sterling defensive play to save the Hornets here in the 5th. After 5 innings of play, it's the Hornets zip and the Orioles zip on NC 34 Sports. Ball game between the Edina Hornets and the St. Louis Park Orioles. A whale of a 5th inning for the Orioles. They had the bases loaded with 1 out rather, and didn't manage to score a run. A great catch by Kevin Gabrick. Bonstrom waves off everybody in the center field and sits down Jason Upsaw. Brings up Harold Stone King, followed by Matt Darlene, the first baseman. Stone King grounded out to the shortstop in the 1st and struck out in the 3rd. First pitch to Stone King is a ball. 1 ball, no strikes to the second baseman. That's in there for a strike. Both starting pitchers still working, Chad Osted and John Nez. Osted works fast. The 1-1 pitch, grounded to Osted. Osted will take it himself. Flips it to the first baseman, Dan Hawley. And Harold Stone King is out. Quickly, 2 outs here in the Edina half of the 6th inning. Matt Darlene, the scheduled batter. Osted kicks and delivers. Breaking ball over for a strike. Darlene flew out to Zempel, the right fielder in the 4th, and grounded out to the second baseman, Kevin Gray, in the 1st. There's a shot down the right field line, just foul by inches, and Darlene will have to go back. That ball about 2 feet foul. Otherwise, that would have been extra bases for Darlene for sure. 0-0 the score. Top of the 6th inning. 2 outs for the Edina Hornets. Matt Darlene, the first baseman, the batter. The pitch from Ostad. That's down the right field line, and Zempel camps underneath it and retires Darlene and the Hornets in the 6th. So both pitchers working well here. John Nez getting into trouble in the second and the fifth innings. No blemishes on their performance thus far. Middle of the sixth inning, it's the Orioles zip and the Hornets zip on NC34 Sports. I'm Todd Radcliffe, providing the graphics this afternoon. The incomparable Jeff Daler. Get a shot of the fans here at the senior high school. As I mentioned earlier, a nice place to play baseball. You get the students filing out from class and school. There's someone looking for a foul ball, I believe. Either that or it's a hobo. Our little dog on the other side of the railroad tracks. There's the pie truck. And there's Paul Jablonski, this afternoon's director, for the last half of the game, taking a break, catching some baseball. And there's that dog again. Due up for the Orioles in the sixth inning is Matt Paulson, Eric Bonstrom, and Dan Hawley. 3, 4, and 5 batters. Meat of the order here for St. Louis Park in the sixth. Paulson grounded out to the third baseman in the first and flew out to Steve Nelson on a great catch by Nelson in the fourth inning. A couple of sterling defensive plays here for the Hornets really saved them in the game. Bottom of the sixth inning, 0-0 the score. The pitch is swung on and fouled straight back. No balls and a strike to Matt Paulson, the catcher. Nez gets his sign from Frisbee, turns and kicks just a bit high, ball one. 1-1 the count to Matt Paulson. Orioles threatened in the fifth inning, but a great catch by Kevin Gabrick. An over-the-shoulder Willie Mays catch ended the threat for the Orioles in the fifth. 2 balls and a strike to Paulson. On deck, Eric Bonstrom, the center fielder, grounded out and singled, but was caught stealing in the fourth. So the last 2 innings, the Orioles have had base runners unable to capitalize. That's low. Three balls and a strike to Paulson. The 3-1 pitch from Nens is swung on and hit to shallow right field. The second baseman, Harold Stone King, can't find the handle on it and lets that one drop. We're gonna rule it an error on the second baseman. Paulson reaches on an error to Harold Stone King on a ball that Harold's going to be catching in his slate for the next 3 or 4 nights if the Orioles score here in the sixth. That brings up Eric Bonstrom, the center fielder. Paulson at first base. That's a called ball, I believe, to Bonstrom here in the sixth. Nobody out, a runner on first base in Matt Paulson. Nens checks the runner, throws over. Paulson gets back in plenty of time.
Keep telling him that.
Nez just with 2 strikeouts on the game. Ostead, I believe, only has the 1 strikeout. that being Harold Stone King. Throw back to first base is not in time. Nobody out here in the Oriole half of the 6th inning with a runner on first base. St. Louis Park needs to get something cooking here in a hurry. They're running out of time. Eric Bonstrom at the plate for St. Louis Park. John Nez, the pitcher. Matt Paulson at first base, holding him Matt Darlene. No score here in the 6th inning. Orioles threatened in the 5th, but could not score. The pitch from Nez is bunted. They may have a play at second base. They do. Paulson's retired on a poor bunt by Eric Bonstrom. Bonstrom bunted the ball straight back to the pitcher John Nez and was able to advance the runner, so Dan McEachran really didn't have that at bat turned out like he wanted to. Bonstrom at first base. The pitch, that's low, ball 1. Dan Hawley steps up to the plate now for the Orioles. Dan reached on a base on balls in the 2nd, stranded at 3rd, and grounded out to the 3rd baseman in the 4th. The 1-0 pitch from Nez, just a bit low, ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. There's 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th. There's extra innings in high school baseball, so if this one's tied at 0, after the 7th, we'll go to extra innings. Check down to first base. Hawley went around. There's a strike. 2 balls and a strike to Hawley. Look at John Nez. 2-2 the count now. Nez battling back. Dan Hawley, the first baseman for the St. Louis Park Orioles, 0 for 1 on the evening. The 2-2 pitch. Called. Strike 3. Catcher drops the ball. All you have to do. No, they should have just thrown down, but first base was occupied, so that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 3 for Nez. Hawley goes down with a strikeout looking in the 6th. That brings up Kevin Gray. Gray struck out in the 2nd, reached on a base on balls in the 5th, and was left at 3rd base when Chris Kirby hit that shot to left field, and Kevin Gabrick made the great catch. Gray's run would have been the go-ahead run. Swing and a miss by Gray. No balls and a strike to the Orioles' second baseman. Nez checks Bonstrom. It's a foul ball out of play. Frisbee with no chance of getting to that one. Not a whole lot of foul ball territory here at St. Louis Park High School. No balls and 2 strikes. The count to Kevin Gray, the Orioles' second baseman. The runner goes. Swing and a miss. That ends the inning. Tumbling into second base is Eric Bonstrom. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Nez, and that ends it.
Do you think McCall's can make it? can make a difference in your life?
Baseball game between the St. Louis Park Orioles and the Edina Hornets were tied at zip in the 7th. Called strike one to Brock Miser. Miser 2 for 2 on the evening with singles in the 1st and the 4th inning. Was forced out at second base on a fielder's choice in the 4th. Lifts the ball in the air. To the left fielder, Chris Kirby, and he retires Brock Miser here in the 7th. Hornets need something here in the 7th if they want to take the lead and eventually try to win this game. That brings up Rob Frisbee, the Hornet catcher. Swing and a miss on his first attempt. No balls and a strike to Frisbee. He's taking some time to gather his thoughts. Ousted kicks and delivers. That doesn't find the strike zone. 1 ball, 1 strike to Frisbee. The 1-1 pitch from Ostad is swung on and hit down the left field line. And Frisbee has a solid double to left field. So with 1 out here in the 7th inning, Edina has a rally. And that'll bring up Andy Fronek, the center fielder. Fronek on the evening 0 for 2. Ground out to the shortstop and flied out to the second baseman in the 4th. Frisbee reaches on a double to left. Edina has the go-ahead run at second. The pitch high, ball 1. Chad Ostad, the ace of the Orioles staff, has gone all the way here for the Orioles this afternoon. That's grounded to the shortstop. Rose retires Fronek. And a good play to look back. Frisbee at second. He doesn't advance. 2 outs here in the 7th. Steve Nelson, the batter now for the Edina Hornets. Nelson 0 for 2. He grounded out in the 2nd inning. That's lifted down the right field line, just foul. Giving chase is Zempel. Had that dropped in, that would have scored Frisbee no problem from second base, running on the pitch with 2 outs. No balls and a strike to Steve Nelson. The pitch to Nelson is high ball. 1 ball and a strike to Nelson. Kevin Gabrick on deck. Should Nelson reach on base. That's outside for a ball. 2 balls and a strike to Nelson. 2 out here in the 7th. Edina with the runner in scoring position. Frisbee is at second base. The 2-1 pitch, high, ball 3. Ostad suffering some control problems here in the 6th. Paulson takes time out, talk things over with his right-hander. Paulson gets Ostad settled down. here in the 6th. Three on the count to Steve Nelson, the Hornet right fielder. Nelson hasn't done a whole lot this afternoon. Made a nice catch. Pickoff play. Frisbee is back in plenty of time. 3-1 the count, 2 outs here in the 7th. That's lifted to right field. Zempel has plenty of time and plenty of room. Squeezes it, and the Hornets are sent down after the double by Frisbee. Middle of the 7th inning here. It's the Hornets 0 and the Orioles 0. And come to the bottom half of the 7th inning. St. Louis Park can send everybody home happy if they score a run here in the 7th. They'll send to the plate Gene Manns, Chad Zempel, and Chad Osted, the bottom third of the order. And they'll face John Nees. Nees with 3 strikeouts on the evening and 4 hits. Ran into trouble in the 5th inning and the 2nd inning, but other than that, he's been nearly perfect. Scattering 4 hits on the evening. Gene Manns is 2 for 2 this afternoon. 2 singles. He was stranded both times he was up. Stranded at second in the 2nd and on 3rd in the 5th inning. There's a young Hornet fan because he's standing on the Edina Hornets side. St. Louis Park can end it all here with a run here in the 7th. Should St. Louis Park not score here in the 7th, we'll go to an extra frame and continue the extra frames till somebody leads. The pitch from Nez, that's swung on. And the first baseman, Matt Darlene, takes it himself for the out. So Manns grounds out to the first baseman, unassisted for the first out here in the 7th. He's 1 for 3. Chad Zempel now, the batter for St. Louis Park. He is hit by a pitch in the 2nd and flied out to the right fielder in the 5th. First pitch called ball. Nez evens the count at 1-1 with a called strike. Zempel holds off that pitch for making the count 2 balls and a strike. 1 out here in the 7th. Chad Osted, the pitcher, on deck. That's high, ball 3 to the Oriole right fielder. Zempel reached base in the 2nd inning after being hit by a pitch. Osted came up to bat with the bases loaded, and Zempel was picked off first to end the inning. 3 balls and a strike to Zempel. The pitch lifted in the air to short left field, making the play, Brock Miser. Ooh, I thought Miser caught the ball. Fell out of his glove. Zempel reaches second base with a 1-out double. We're going to give the second baseman an error there, or the shortstop an error on the play. That brings up Chad Osted with a winning run at second base. Osted can be the hero here in two cases. Pitched a masterful 7-inning shutout and could knock in the game-winning run here in the bottom of the 7th. The pitch to Osted, low, ball 1. A ball and no strikes to Osted. 1 out here in the 7th. This would improve the Orioles to 5-0 should the Orioles win. Drop Edina down to 2-0. 2-2 rather. A ball and 2 strikes, the count now to Osted. That's low. Good job by Frisbee to keep the ball in front of him. Nez wants a new ball. Zempel at second base, the winning run. And an error to the shortstop, Brock Miser. The pitch from Nez. Just a bit outside. That's a full count. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Chad Osted. Osted is going to look at this pitch closely. He'll take the walk because he has the top of the order coming up. Chad Rose and Chris Kirby. That's low ball 4. Osted does what he wanted. Got on. With 1 out here, the Orioles have runners at first and second with 1 out and the top of the order coming up. Chad Rose is 0 for 3 in the afternoon, reached on base in the 5th inning on a fielder's choice, then grounded out to the first baseman and the second baseman in the 1st and 3rd innings. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Winning run at second base in Chad Zempel. Rose, a lefty. That's low. Ball 1. Ball and no strikes to. That's inside. 2 balls, no strikes to Chad Rose, the senior shortstop. Nez with 3 strikeouts in the game could love to have one here. Good look at Chad Rose. He digs in against John Nez. The 2-0 pitch. Caught the inside corner of the plate for a strike. 2-1 the count to Chad Rose. Winning run at second base for St. Louis Park. And Chad Zempel reached on a error to the shortstop. A 2-base error to Brock Miser. Chad Osted at first base. Bunted foul by Rose evens the count at 2-2. The 2-2 pitch to Rose, swung back. Rose stays alive, 2-2.
Base wrap, Chad.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Nez looks into Frisbee, gets his sign. He kicks and deals. That's low, ball 3. 3-2. 2 rows. The 3-2 pitch. 2 rows. Fouled straight back. Staying alive with a couple of foul balls here, Chad Rose. Winning run at second base, and Chad Zempel. If Rose will get a base hit here, the hero of the game will be Chad. That is lifted into the outfield. Pop up to the center fielder, Andy Froelich. And there's 2 away here in the 7th inning. That brings up Chris Kirby, the left fielder. Two outs here in the Oriole half of the 7th inning. John Nez trying to work out of another jam. Trying to pull off another Houdini act as Nez. 2 out, first pitch to Kirby. Is high, ball 1. If there's any justification in the game of baseball, Kirby will get it right here with the base hit and end the game. Kirby grounded out to the pitcher in the first, struck out in the third, and hit a deep fly ball to left field, which would have scored at least 1 run, probably 2 or 3 runs in the 5th, had it not been for Kevin Gabrick making a fantastic Willie Mays catch over his shoulder. There's a called strike. Chris Kirby, the batter. Zempel on second base with the winning run. 2 outs here in the 7th. Chad Osted at first. The pitch is lifted into the air into foul territory over the third baseman, Jason Upsall, and he ends the inning for the Edina Hornets. St. Louis Park threatens but doesn't score here in the 7th. We'll go to extra innings.
For the man who really loves his golf, nothing will stand in his way when he wants to play. He'll play anywhere. Trouble, however, can be encountered on any golf course. Hazards like heavy rough. Golf Digest magazine can help. Every golfer wants to improve, but the golfer who improves most reads Golf Digest. For him, sand shots are easy. Golf Digest's instructional articles can even see you through the perils of a water hazard. Your favorite course may be less treacherous than this one, but probably no less demanding. Wherever you play, play better with Golf Digest.
Get a full year of Golf Digest for $19.77. Call 800-892-9000 now and get our free half-hour instructional video with your paid subscription. Call 800-892-9000.
Welcome back to St. Louis Park Senior High School for tonight's baseball game between the St. Louis Park Orioles and the Edina Hornets. We're in extra innings here. The score is knotted at 0. Both pitchers doing a pretty good job. Ostad doing a great job pitching, and John Nez doing a tremendous job escaping jams for the Edina Hornets. Facing Ostad in the Edina half of the 7th, number 24, Kevin Gabrick, Eric Hutchins, and John Upsall, the scheduled batters for the Edina Hornets. Gabrick digs in. First ball is high, ball 1. Gabrick, the left fielder, a great catch in the 5th inning. That's lined just foul.
10, good rip.
And they'll leave that go and let a spectator pick that one up. Gabriel Wares, number 24, plays left field for the Hornets. The pitch, just a bit outside. 2 balls and a strike to Gabriel. Tonka with a win here, or Edina with a win here, will raise its record to 3-1. Their only loss on the season to Minnetonka. And it's lifted in foul territory. Dan Hawley squeezes it for the first out of the inning. Gabriel flies out to Dan Hawley for out number 1 here in the 8th. Edina really hasn't had a scoring threat. They had Frisbee at second base in the 7th inning, but could not get him any further, and that's been just about it. Throwing a 3-hitter. This is line foul down the right field line. Throwing a 3-hitter is Chad Osted. It's been a pretty error-free game thus far, except for the error to Brock Miser. Orioles have stranded a couple. Osted kicks and fouled straight back by Eric Hutchins. Osted trying to work out of the 8th inning, facing Eric Hutchins, the DH. That's a ball. Coming up for the St. Louis Park Orioles, Matt Paulson, Eric Bonstrom, Dan Hawley, and Kevin Gray, the scheduled batters for St. Louis Park. Osted falling deep into the count to Hutchins. Hutchins 0 for 2, couple of ground outs to the shortstop and the third baseman. Slips coming out of the batter's box, making the play. Is Gene Mans, and Hutchins sits down again. 3 ground outs to Hutchins in the game. He ends the 8th inning of play going 0 for 3. John Upsaw, the batter now for the Edina Hornets. Upsaw flat out to the third baseman and flat out to Eric Bonstrom, the center fielder, in the 6th. 8th inning of play. The score is tied at 0. 2 outs in the Hornet 8th. Swing and a miss by Jason Upsaw. Upsaw, the third baseman for Edina. The 0-1 pitch is grounded and put out, and the St. Louis Park will come to bat here in the 8th inning of play with a chance to win this one in front of their home crowd. After 7.5 innings of play, it's the Orioles 0 and the Hornets 0. St. Louis Park will send to the plate this half of the 8th inning Matt Paulson, Eric Bonstrom, and Dan Hawley. Should those people get on, the rest of the order will bat Kevin Gray, Gene Mans, Chad Zemple, and Chad Osted. Paulson on the game so far is 0 for 3, grounding out to the third baseman in the 1st, flying out to the right fielder in the 4th, and reaching on base with an error to the second baseman in the 6th. They'll face John Nez. Nez stays in the game. Paulson, the catcher, waiting to do battle against Nez here in the 8th inning. St. Louis Park wins this game. They'll improve the record to 5-0, undefeated in the Lake Conference. Paulson gets ready to do battle with John Nez. Nez has gone all the way for Edina, striking out 3 and giving up 4 hits. Has been scared a couple of times, but has pitched pretty well, getting out of jams. There's the called strike on the first offering from John Nez. No balls and a strike to Matt Paulson. The 0-1 pitch from Nez, inside a bit, ball. We're tied at 0 here in the 8th inning between the Orioles and the Hornets. Eric Bonstrom on deck. Lifted into right field. And camping underneath it is Steve Nelson. He squeezes it and retires Matt Paulson. That'll bring up the center fielder, Eric Bonstrom, here in the last of the 8th. 1 out. Bonstrom steps up. Bonstrom with a base hit in the 4th, ground out in the 2nd, and reached on a fielder's choice in the 6th. First pitch to Bonstrom is a ball. A ball and no strikes. 1 out here in the 8th. It's a base hit lined into left field for Bonstrom. Bonstrom's on base here in the 8th inning for St. Louis Park. That'll bring up Dan Hawley. Hawley is 0 for 2 with a ground out to the third baseman in the 4th and a strikeout looking in the 6th. No score here in the 8th. Orioles threatening with Bonstrom on with 1 out. Hawley follows it back. Dan struggling a little bit from the plate. Bonstrom, decent speed for a catcher at first base. No balls and a strike. The count to Dan Hawley here in the 8th inning. That's a called strike. No balls, 2 strikes. Hawley falls in a hole to Nez in the 8th. The 0-2 pitch to Hawley, called strike 3, struck him out. Second time Hawley goes down looking in the game. And that's something you can't do with a winning run on base. 2 outs here in the 8th inning. Kevin Gray, the batter. Gray struck out in the 2nd and the 6th and reached on a base on balls in the 5th. Pitch to Gray is low, ball 1. 2 outs here in the 8th inning. St. Louis Park and the Edina Hornets are all knotted up at zeros. 2 outs. Eric Bonstrom at first base. No pitch called. Gray called timeout. It's a be a good win for St. Louis Park if they can knock off Edina here. That's inside. 2 balls and no strikes here to Kevin Gray. The second baseman for St. Louis Park, Bonstrom, gets his lead at first. Fouled straight back, 2-2 the count. The softball or baseball field. There's 2 out here in the 8th inning. And St. Louis Park has a runner on first base, that being Eric Bonstrom. He reached on with a 1-out single in the 8th. Now up is Kevin Gray, the second baseman, and that is lined into right field. Here comes Bonstrom around third. They're going to wave him home. The relay from Miser is not in time, and Bonstrom will score. Bonstrom leveled at the plate as he crosses the plate for the winning run. And the St. Louis Park Orioles win a nail-biter here at St. Louis Park Senior High School, 1-0 over the Edina Hornets on a daring bit of base running by Dan McEachran and Eric Bonstrom, with a relay coming from Brock Miser. Miser couldn't hold it, and the St. Louis Park Orioles come away with a 1-0 victory in 8 innings, and that should just about do it here for us at St. Louis Park Senior High School. It's been a thriller. Bonstrom is still down on the ground as we go over and shake the other team's hands. The final score is 1-0, thanks to our camera people, Paul Jablonski and Leslie Farrell. The graphics were done by Jeff Daler, and the director has been myself, Todd Radcliffe. I'm a jack of all trades, so to speak. The final score from St. Louis Park Senior High School: the St. Louis Park Orioles 1 and the Hornets 0 in 8 innings. Good night from St. Louis Park.